Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Jelarzak, product development and marketing coach and mom of three. Learn from and get inspired by women entrepreneurs killing it in the product space. Each episode, we will share the latest trends, proven strategies, and inside secrets of the product world, all designed to give you greater confidence to create your own success through a product venture. Let's do this. Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. I am so excited to welcome Chris Swail to the podcast. Chris and I met at a group mastermind sort of thing, and I just fell in love with her energy, and she's just an amazing person to hang around and to be with, but also I imagine she is an amazing coach. Chris is a certified health and life coach who believes that everyone can achieve their dreams with the right mindset and by breaking goals into small steps. She works with busy moms who feel overwhelmed and bogged down by everyone else's demands, take control of their time so they can go after their own goals and still show up for their family. Being in those shoes and then making incredible strides through life coaching lit the fire in her to become a coach herself so she can help other women get unstuck. Well, I know that this audience will love Chris because mindset is just one of those things that is so important in business and so important to getting our products launched and having a successful business. So really excited to welcome Chris to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I'd love if you could give us a little bit of background about you and tell us about your journey to how you got to be becoming a coach.
Sure. I'm a mother to 3 young kids. They're all under 10. And I've always loved working as well outside of the home. When I had full-time jobs, I also had side hustles. I worked in graphic design and print production, working on magazines and national advertising campaigns. I've been a freelance graphic artist, primarily making wedding invitations or business cards and things for small businesses. And then since having kids, I had been very, very restless, not having a career. And I tried entertaining several different avenues. At one point, I had a pre-loved baby clothing business.
Oh, wow.
I got certified to teach bar and was considering opening a bar studio. Throughout my whole life, I've always been drawn to helping others, be it donating or actually organizing fundraisers. And this has been a theme I've just always come back to. So when I discovered life coaching and health coaching, it felt like a perfect fit.
Okay, great. So how did you actually come up with the idea for your business of life and health coaching?
I was looking for something purposeful to do, something that I really believed in, and if it could benefit others, the better. As I practiced some of the life and health coaching methodology in my own life, and for the first time in years felt motivated and fired up. It was as if this giant neon sign lit my path and I knew that this was it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There's usually a time in our life when we feel totally lit up, and that's usually a sign that that's the way to go. And how did you feel that there was a need in the market for your business?
I think it's really common to feel alone and feel like everyone else has it all figured out when you're struggling, especially mentally. But in this case, I figured I couldn't be the only one. I started talking to my friends more about how they were feeling in life. And then I also realized that for a few years, I had been meeting other moms who had been opening up to me in the schoolyard, telling me that they felt and sometimes even looked as defeated and overwhelmed as I had been. And because I was seeing these results in my life through life coaching, I wanted to help them so badly. I would send them podcasts and articles and book recommendations. And several of them actually told me I should be doing this for a living. And so I decided to jump in and get certified as a coach. I wanted my business to feel approachable. And I found that I actually hesitated before I signed up for life coaching because I felt like I didn't know enough to start life coaching. I didn't know what my end goal was. And so in speaking with other mothers in particular, they sort of had the same thing. They kind of felt like they were in a rut, but didn't know what getting out of that rut looked like for them. Because I was having these results and I was feeling so much happier and motivated in my life, I thought, I want to create a business where you can just come to me and we can figure out all that bigger stuff later, but you have to do the work inside first, and then the rest kind of just falls into place.
That's so true. Things fall into place when you have the right mindset. And I remember just being in the corporate world, I didn't really know about the mindset work or do the mindset work because it wasn't really a thing and it wasn't really tangible. But as soon as I became an sort of an entrepreneur, business owner, I knew that I had a lot of work to do. And I just gravitated to all those books that you can read about mindset and started learning about coaches who can help you with that. And I think your line of work is just so important for people out there. And especially in this day and age with social media and different mental health issues that people are going through. Like it's just so needed, especially as a product business owner or any kind of business owner.
Yeah, I think there's also a bit of a disconnect because some of it can feel a little out there and a little wooey. And so for practical people, it doesn't seem like it's a fit, but like you said, it really truly is because you need to have and you need to be in the right mindset for success in business and relationships, basically every avenue of life. And so it is really beneficial, as obscure as it may feel.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I'll definitely be honest. In the beginning, I was thinking, oh, I don't know if this is a bit woo woo and I don't
Yeah.
know about this. But as I learned more about it, it's so applicable. And if you
Yeah,
don't do the work, then you're not going to get where you want to go because you're always going to find a way to stop yourself, or there's going to be something in the way that your mind is stopping you to do.
that's right. You
Yeah.
stand in your own way.
You stand in your own way for sure. When you think about top mindset blocks that people come to you with, how do you help them overcome these blocks?
This is a great question as well. As soon as you asked it, my mind just flooded with all sorts of things. But I think I can umbrella them into one word, which is overwhelm. That's the biggie. It just encompasses an array of other things, primarily negative self talk, which is when you tell yourself all the reasons why you can't do something. And that looks like, I'm not smart enough. I don't have a big enough following. Why would people even want what I'm selling? It's all these things that are not supportive thoughts. And we tend to gravitate towards those types of thoughts when we don't know how to do something. And that's the overwhelm. And so we can talk ourselves out of it. And that's where mindset work really comes in because you can kind of put a little bit of a pause on that and plan out in small steps, in small doable steps. And you can even retrain your brain to support you throughout the whole process.
I think probably the biggest thing I hear as well is the overwhelm in terms of, oh, I don't know where to start. There's so many steps. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I don't know if my idea is good enough. And all of that negative self-talk, it's all stuff that you can solve for and stuff you can figure out, but most people allow that to get in their own way. So I think that's so true. And it's probably the biggest thing that you need to help people with, basically. So, do you think that new entrepreneurs have more blocks, mindset blocks, than more seasoned entrepreneurs? Or do they have their own different blocks and you kind of have to work through different things at different times?
I think a little bit of both. I think that seasoned entrepreneurs have already taken the first steps. They've already gotten their feet wet, so to speak, whereas new entrepreneurs haven't. They don't have the proof that they can do this new venture. Seasoned entrepreneurs certainly experience this again when they take on a new avenue in their business or want to change or even create a new business. I think overcoming the overwhelm and fear in making real moves towards a business makes or break whether it happens or not. So many entrepreneurial minded people, they bail and give up because it feels too hard. That's the difference between a new and a seasoned, is that with a new one, sometimes they don't get farther than the dream. And the seasoned, I do think that they both then will have stumbles along the way because you can take a few steps. And then if there's one place where you don't know what to do next, that can stop you. And I think even new or seasoned struggle with that a little bit. And, there's lots of processes that you can do, and you just have to take a step back and look at different options and be creative with your solutions for your challenges.
Right. And I think getting to that next level, if you are, whether you're a new entrepreneur or a seasoned entrepreneur, it always takes a change in mindset. So it's probably just a continual journey of constantly working on your mindset throughout. I don't think you ever totally get there. Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely. It's a journey. It's not a race with a start and a finish line. You'll always be thrown challenges in your life and in your business, and they sometimes are similar to ones you've had in the past, but very often they're not. And it's really important to be regularly checking in with yourself to see what's going on in your mind. Everybody has different seasons in their lives. So life can be harder and easier for various reasons, depending on what's going on all around. Sometimes that can stop you from moving forward too. If you're in a bit of a down phase in your life, it can be harder to feel motivated, and it can be harder to find creative ways and just be open about being flexible or solving problems or moving forward. So it's always great to just keep checking in with your mind and figuring out if what you're doing is pulling you towards your goals or away from them.
Yeah, exactly. So many times I catch myself with negative thoughts. And I think, what is the statistic? Like over 90% of your thoughts are negative throughout the day. Like, how awful is that? You're going through your day and most of your thoughts you have are negative. That cannot be serving us in a good way. And it cannot be serving us to move us towards our goals for sure.
No, not at all.
So actually, that brings me to the next question. How much do you think mindset is correlated with success and happiness?
Entirely. If you don't believe in yourself, it's really hard to get others to follow you or buy into what you're selling. Obviously, people have doubts. It's natural, it's going to happen. But you also have to have the mindset that you are important and you can help people, because a lot of products, in fact, that's what they do. They solve a problem, right? You know, because you've created it. So you may have had that problem. And similar to how I got into life coaching, when I saw the results, I wanted to give those results to other people.
So something you said really hit home. I think you said something about if you don't feel your worth, then how can you get others to believe that as well when you're selling whatever you're selling, if it's a product or service or whatever it is. And that is so true. But from someone who and I've struggled with it in the past, like someone who struggles with, oh, am I good enough? Is this good enough? What advice would you give that person to help with their own either self belief or believe in their products?
There's a thing called imposter syndrome. And I think that many people, particularly entrepreneurs, can fall into this trap. And you see other people doing things, things that you want to be doing, and you feel like it's already been done. How could I offer it? Why would anybody want to buy into what I'm selling? We're always looking for evidence in our lives that we can do something. But if you think back to when you were a child, so many of the skills that you learn, you do for the first time. And parents don't say, "Oh, no, you can't do that because you've never done it before." You would never say that to a child, right? You encourage them to do it, and they do, and they succeed, or they fail, they learn, maybe fail again and repeat, and then they succeed. And it's the same thing for us, is that you might not hit it out of the park the first time, and that's completely fine. You learn so much and you grow so much from failure that you just have to show up and show up as you and show up with confidence that you know what you are selling and what you believe in about yourself, and the evidence will come.
I love that. That is so true because we let things stop us from even trying. But it's all a journey. We just have to start somewhere. And as long as we fail along the way, that's almost a good thing. I think I saw a podcast or show on Sarah Blakely, and she would come home every day from school, and her dad would ask her, "What did you fail at today?" Such a great question because we are always scared to fail. But if you're not failing, you're not trying, you're not getting out of your comfort zone, and you're not progressing forward. All right. And if listeners could do just one thing to improve their mindset, what kind of advice would you give them?
My biggest piece of advice is to be open to awareness. You need to be aware of what's going through your mind, and you're not always going to like what you see. It's a very vulnerable place to be, but it's very difficult to move forward when you're not open to being aware of all the thoughts that are going through your brain. Sometimes you can be caught up in this whirlwind of thoughts, and some are very obvious, but some are lurking. And those lurking ones are the ones that often hold us back. If we're not aware we're having thoughts about our ability or about the value and quality that we can provide in the world, then those are the thoughts that will hold us back. So it's just being open to yourself to find that awareness. It's hard to do that without judgment, because naturally we want to beat ourselves up and we shame or guilt ourselves. But if we can change that judgment to curiosity, and the difference with judgment and curiosity is judgment is when we decide something about our actions or inactions, and curiosity is where we just go, now I wonder why I said that, or I wonder why I think I can't do that. When you replace judgment with curiosity, it actually allows you to be open more creatively to find solutions to move forward. I have an exercise that I do with my clients, and I'm happy to share it with yours. I call it the thought ladder. I ask my clients to write their current thought at the very bottom of a piece of paper, the very bottom line. And then at the very top, they write the thought that they want to be thinking. It might feel outrageous. It might feel so undoable, but it's what, in an ideal world, if you could wave a magic wand, this is the thought I want to think about myself or about your business, whatever it is. Then you go back to the current thought at the bottom. This is usually a negative thought. And you, above it, on the line above, you write a thought that is just slightly different than the current thought. And it might not even be positive at this point, depending on how negative your current thought is. You just want to make it slightly less negative with the aim of making it neutral. And then you, on top of that thought, you write another thought that's neutral but slightly better. And then you keep going up and write new thoughts, as many as you need. Sometimes you only need 5, sometimes you need 12 or more. So you're making a ladder of steps, like a ladder of thoughts to get you to that goal thought. And while you create this ladder, you're not believing these thoughts. In a perfect world, here's the iterations I could take. These are the small steps I could take to get from my current thought to my goal thought. Once you've written the thought letter out, you take the thought that you wrote above your current thought and you say that one out loud 10 times. And if you feel resistance inside, if you're like, no, 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 nope, then that you may have taken too big of a leap, and you actually might need to make that thought a little bit more negative, but less negative than the current thought, until you can get it to neutral. And you, every day, you say the next thought 10 times. And when you don't feel resistance to it, you can move on to the next one. And that is training your brain to shift and to create this new mindset so that you eventually believe the goal thought. And sometimes people are blown away by their own selves when they can do this, because afterwards you can look at where you were and where you are now, and it's incredible. You can really see how mindset work creates a positive shift that then gives you the momentum to problem solve, to launch all your products, or just to whatever your goals are in life.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool, because I often have read these books about, okay, you just have to think about yourself as a millionaire, like the millionaire mindset and all of this. And it's very hard to do that when your current state of thought is, oh, I'm so broke. Oh, I can't make money. But what you're saying is just think of just a little bit better thought. Like your whole business is called a little bit better, but it's so true. Like small steps in your thoughts and small steps in what you do every day. And then you will get better and better and better. So I really think that's super helpful. I'm going to try it out myself
Yeah.
and then I'll let you know.
Let me know how it goes.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a name for your negative persona? Like, I know that many people say, "Oh, give that sort of negative self a name," and they're sitting on your shoulder and tell them to go away. Do you actually have you named her or him?
Do you know what? I did, and I let it go. When I started having success in life coaching, I thought, I don't need to have that crutch anymore. I'm okay with people having the crutch. In fact, I also tell people to do that. But I think that it's interesting that I just naturally decided one day that I didn't need her anymore, that I could do this. So many people have it and find it really, really helpful. And I did as well, for a little while. But I would caution one thing with it is that you can start blaming. And I think if you start blaming and not taking ownership for your own actions and putting it on somebody else who's not you. It's a little bit of buffering. And what buffering is not really looking and not really being aware of what's going on in your mind. So sometimes you do need to let go of that alter ego and just be you and focus on you.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. A tip I've heard is that it's important to think of your future self, like the person you want to become, and start acting like that person now. Do you have any tips for how somebody can do that?
Yeah, for sure. In one-on-one sessions with my clients, I actually do an exercise with them, which is exactly this. What we do is we pick a real human, if there is one that they can relate to or that they see and they're like, this person embodies my values, who I want to be, how much money I want to make, all the things. And you picture yourself now being that person. You know, people name Oprah, for instance, that's a big one. And you need to do this in a very quiet, uninterrupted space. You picture yourself as them, thinking the types of thoughts that they think about themselves, about their business, about their impact in the world and what they want their impact in the world to be. And you just sit there, and I guess it's sort of a form of meditation. You just be that person. And it's really interesting because when people come out of that, you can just see them fired up. They just look so alive and so motivated. And they know that they can do this. They know that they can be that person. So they're going to now take that feeling and make themselves into their own version of their mentor.
That's really powerful. I remember I did that with a life coach as an exercise, and I thought it was very powerful. And I think if you can do that every day on a day-to-day basis, because sometimes it's hard to remember yourself as your future self, but it's a great form of meditation. I love that.
For sure. Well, you've probably heard people are in a situation, they'd be like, what would Oprah do? Right. And that's basically what it comes down to is you're just trying to, well, what would so-and-so do? And how they approach it's the same thing.
Yeah, because that person is going to have higher level thoughts. They're not going to have some of those lower level thoughts like indecision, jealousy, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, all those kinds of thoughts. They probably don't have it or they've gotten over it. So imagine yourself as them is just a way of embodying what you want to become. Eventually you probably become that person.
Yeah, for sure. And they probably do have those thoughts, but maybe not as often as the rest of us mere mortals.
Yeah. Yeah. And then going to sort of a more holistic, general, not business, but from your point of view, what is the key to happiness?
Ooh. So again, I just want to go back to awareness. I think that you need to be aware of your why, and your why is your reason for what you do in life and how you show up. And if you aren't aware, then I think you can get really muddled and you can let other people's priorities take over and you can end up pushing your goals aside and that won't make you happy. So I think if you're constantly aware of what am I doing right now? Is this bringing me forward? Is this pulling me backward? Am I serving somebody else or am I serving myself? And just having full awareness so that you don't feel like you're in a tide of somebody else's life and that you're out of control. There's lots of other components with it, but I think it has to begin with being self-aware.
And what do you wish someone would have told you before you started your business?
Definitely to network. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing in the beginning, or very, very few people. I don't really know why. I kind of had this, well, I don't want to bother people. I didn't want to burden them, but they don't have to do anything with the information of what I'm doing, but they might. And that might open up opportunities for you. You know, it took me a little while. I didn't do any networking in the beginning, but once I joined a networking group, which is where I met you, it greatly propelled my business. I would not have had that if I had not joined this group of like-minded women entrepreneurs. We were in different fields. Our businesses are all different. Well, there's some overlap, but you know, it doesn't matter what genre we're in. We just help each other. We see that we're going through similar problems. Everything's relatable and solvable, and we help each other, we lift each other up, and we open doors for each other. And I really have so much gratitude for that group that I've joined. And honestly, it's the best thing that I could have done for my business, which makes me happy. So it's good for my mental health as well.
Totally. It's so true. There's no blueprint for being an entrepreneur, and it's really important to have this support because we are all taught in school how to have a job and just do the traditional way, but nobody has really groomed us as we were growing up to become an entrepreneur. So if you have that support group, it's super helpful. And I totally resonate with not wanting to tell people about your business. I hid for so long. I didn't even want to tell people about what I was doing. I didn't want to share anything. And you kind of have to. You have to let people aware that you exist, or
You
else
do.
you're not going to have a business. So it's a big hang up that many people go through. What would be your top tips for people who want to get started with their own business?
I think the top tip would be to combat that overwhelm right away. And so you need to make a plan for your business. I don't necessarily mean write out all the details. It doesn't have to be this 80-page document. I think you need to write out what your goal is, what you want to do, and then from there go backwards and try to figure out all the steps that you need to take to get there. So you don't need to figure them out. You need to write what steps you think you need to take. And don't worry if you don't know how to do them, because you just need to get them all out of paper. You can figure out the how afterwards. And when people don't do that, that's when they might be able to do the first 2 or 3 steps, but they get to the next one and it feels like a roadblock. And that's often when people bail. So I think that if you write all these steps down, you can sort of combat the overwhelm right away, because you can see where your challenges are going to lie, and then you can plan for them. In the case of a podcast, I didn't know how to create a podcast. And so I knew in that step that I needed to find somebody who did. So you don't have to have the answers to all the steps to get to your goal, but you do need to see that there will be challenges. And so you can figure out that you don't have to do it all by yourself. But being able to recognize that is a key step, I think.
Yeah, because having big goals can be super overwhelming. And if you don't know what are the steps you need to go through in order to get there, that's a huge thing. And that's actually one of the things I help people who want to launch a product with, is just like the steps, because otherwise you just feel there's too much to do and too many things to learn. One more thing is, I know that you are a busy mom. I'd love to know about your tips to balancing, or I don't know if that's the right word, balancing, but juggling mom life and running your business.
I will say that having the kids back in school helps a lot. The entrepreneurial life, as I'm sure you know, it's not always balanced. So I think it's really important to do the mindset work so that you're okay being flexible if things need to change on the fly. And, if you've got a kid that's sick, or somebody had to rearrange a meeting that you had found childcare for, or whatever it is, you just need to be flexible so that you can go with the flow a little bit more. I also spoke to my family. This is what I'm doing. This is what I wanted to do. And so together we work out a plan. So obviously I'm going to try to do most of my work when the kids aren't here. In the last few months for coronavirus, that wasn't possible. So I had to be flexible, and I had to pull back and change what I did in my business. So in that instance, it meant I couldn't do as much one-on-one coaching. So that's why I launched my podcast, because I could still be in people's ears, and I could still provide my service and free, which is amazing. So I could reach more people and keep connection. For me, I made the choice anyways to cut back my one-on-one, because I was afraid that I'd always have a kid barging in the background. And I wanted to really give my full attention to my clients. So really it's about being flexible and not getting hung up if things have to change and quickly. And that's the difference. I don't even think we talked about it yet, or at all, with mindset, is that there are 2 mindsets, and one's called a fixed mindset and one's a growth mindset. And when you stay in a fixed mindset, when you have an obstacle, it's almost impossible to overcome them, because a fixed mindset is that things are impossible to change. They are the way they are. That's it. And a growth mindset is about learning. It's okay to fail. It's about exploration. It's about creative problem solving. It's about, yes, something is this way, but it can change, or I can change. And so I think really that's what it's about. It's about the flexibility and really working on my mindset to keep it in a growth mindset stage.
I love that. And I really resonate with a fixed versus growth mindset, because when I feel like I'm entering in that fixed mindset, I always have to question myself as well.
We all have moments, I think, that we will fall into that. And so that's why recognizing it is so important. I can tell you another little tool that I use that is less mindset and more of a tool is calendar blocking. Calendar blocking to me is like game changing. It's life saving. What that is, if your listeners aren't aware, is I'll just sit down or have my client write everything that they need to do on one piece of paper. And then you look at that piece of paper, you cross off the things that you actually really don't need to do. And then the things that you do, you put them into your calendar right away, and then you can throw away that list. And then you honor those appointments, as we call them. You honor them. So when they come up, you know how long you have. If you need to be on Instagram, you mark that time on your calendar. So you go onto Instagram, do your pitch or your engage with your followers in a set time, and then you move on to the next thing. And that's how you can keep on top of your list of things that you need to do. And it's so important when you've got kids in the mix, because you don't have time to be derailed and go chasing shiny objects, you know?
Exactly. I love the calendar blocking. That's been a game changer because otherwise you end up chasing squirrels and checking social media and, doing the laundry, making dinner, whatever you need to do for your kids. But then you forget about all the big rocks to push and move forward with.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close up this conversation?
I guess I always want to encourage people to believe in themselves. We've got one life, we're here, so believe in yourself and don't be afraid to fail, because so much learning happens in failing, and it feels scary, but sometimes the best things come out of failures. So I'm not saying that you're going to fail, but don't be afraid to.
Absolutely. Thank you. This has been amazing. And can you tell us how people can find you?
Sure, yeah. You can find me pretty much daily on my Instagram account, which is This Is A Little Bit Better. And my website is alittlebitbetter.ca. And there you can sign up for my mailing list to receive freebies and info about upcoming events. My podcast is it's everywhere you get your podcasts, and it's called A Little Bit Better.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, I have listened to your podcast, and there's so many good tips. I think Chris could go on because there's so many great mindset tips to learn from her. So just listen to her podcast. And I know that you are going to be launching a course soon. Do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. Yes, it's launching in a couple of weeks, and it's called Take Back Your Time. And it's really targeted for busy, overwhelmed moms who feel like they're a victim to their family's schedule, and they feel like they're not able to prioritize their goals and dreams. And if they do, they're feeling a lot of guilt towards doing that. So it's a course to help you streamline your time, gain control of your schedule so that you can still take care of you and your family.
Awesome. That sounds so good. I think a lot of people would need that right now.
Yeah. And it's a quick course because I'm mindful that if you're busy, that might feel overwhelming. So it's just a 5-week course with a bonus 6-week, short video lessons and handouts. So you can do it on your own time and hopefully not take too much time doing it.
Perfect. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I can't wait to follow your journey and see you grow and keep learning from you on your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I had such a fun time today speaking with you.
Me too. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Productpreneur Podcast. If you loved this episode, we'd be so grateful if you could take a sec to subscribe, share it, and review it on Apple Podcasts. Your review will help more women build their own dream product business. By the way, if you have any feedback, comments, or questions, email me at info@nicoledelarzac.com. Until next time, keep dreaming up those product ideas.